you've got the Bible there. If you go to 1 Timothy chapter 3,
yes,
verse 4, there's a discussion of a man presiding over his household, having his children in subjection. Now, what does that mean?
That's a very good question, Your Honour. Biblically speaking, the word subjection infers respect and a willingness to comply with direction. It does not...
Your Bible then provides a reference back to Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4.
That is correct.
Which imposes the obligation on fathers to bring their children up in the discipline and admonition of Jehovah. What's the discipline of Jehovah?
So, Your Honour, the original language word there, discipline, it indicates a process of teaching, educating, making a disciple.
Well, from that reference in Ephesians, your Bible takes us back to Proverbs chapter 13, verse 24.
Proverbs 13:24, yes.
And the exact quote is, "Whoever holds back his rod hates his son." What does that mean?
So, Your Honour, you'll notice there's an asterisk there on the term rod, and you see the footnote, discipline or punishment. So, in the application of this, the term rod is used as a symbol or a metaphor to indicate the authority to give some punishment. For example, in a modern day setting, my father could say to me, I don't go to the movies because I had broken some of the rules of the home.
So it's not about inflicting corporal punishment then?
It absolutely is not about inflicting corporal punishment.
It would have been when first written, wouldn't it?
How people applied it back then at that time, of course, is open to question.
Well, what you're telling me, as I understand it, is that your religion, your church, is prepared to interpret the Bible having regard to contemporary social attitudes and standards. Is that right?
Obviously, Your Honour, we need to take that into consideration, but the primary responsibility we have is to think, what does Jehovah God mean by this? And we look at other scriptures. One of the problems that many folk have when they read the Bible is they take one verse and they assume it means something out of context or not in reference to other scriptures. So for our understanding, Jehovah has said that children should be raised in a loving environment. Jesus was raised in such an environment.
Well, I've taken you to the way your own church constructs the biblical references, which, as we've noticed, takes us back to Proverbs. Correct?
That is correct.
But what you've given us is the understanding which your church now has about how that's to apply in contemporary society. Is that right?
That's a good question. Obviously, I can only speak about what we understand this to mean now, but I would argue the case that even back in ancient times, God did not have in mind for children to be beaten up in a bad way.
Does your church accept corporal punishment of children?
Our church accepts the family arrangement and expects that parents have the responsibility to discipline and raise their children.
That doesn't answer my question. Do you accept corporal punishment?
In our literature, I think you'll see time and time again, we've endeavoured to explain that here, discipline is referring to more a mental point of view.
I regret to tell you, you're still not answering my question. Do you accept corporal punishment?
No.
You don't?
Not personally, no. and not as an organisation. We don't encourage it.
But do you prohibit it?
Our literature has pointed out that the true way to discipline children is by educating them, not giving corporal punishment. Your Honour, I can only tell you the spirit behind our writings.
Although in the past, the Watchtower Society associated the rod of discipline with corporal punishment, lovingly administered, by the time Jackson was giving his testimony, as recently as 2014, the year before, the view had changed. For example, note what is stated in the book Draw Close to Jehovah.
In Bible times, the Hebrew word for rod meant a stick, or a staff, such as the one a shepherd used, to guide his sheep. Similarly, the rod of parental authority suggests loving guidance, not harsh or brutal punishment.
So, for him to say that the organization does not accept corporal punishment, was not technically a lie, since that was the current teaching in 2015. Interestingly, in his argument, Justice McClellan does not appear to be trying to prove that the organization directs parents to spank their children. Rather, he was seeking to determine if the society showed a willingness to reinterpret biblical passages to fit modern circumstances. After all, the law also instructed parents to participate in the stoning of an adult child who proved to be rebellious.
If a man has a son who is stubborn and rebellious, and he does not obey his father or his mother, and they have tried to correct him, but he refuses to listen to them, his father and his mother should take hold of him, and bring him out to the elders at the gate of his city, and say to the elders of his city, "This son of ours is stubborn and rebellious, and he refuses to obey us. He is a glutton and a drunkard." Then all the men of his city must stone him to death. So you must remove what is bad from your midst, and all Israel will hear and become afraid.
Even though stoning was practiced in ancient times, Jehovah's Witnesses do not carry out this form of punishment for those rebelling against their parents today.
In the days of ancient Israel, when a son was openly rebellious, his parents handed him over to the older men of the city for punishment. These decreed death by stoning. There was no excusing rebellion because of his youth. Although today we do not have a typical theocracy governing the land, we do have theocratic rule in the home, and in the congregation, as well as a civil law of the land. When a son refuses to recognize theocratic rule in the home, appeal should be made to the theocratic rule in the congregation. If the rebellious son refuses to heed the voice of the congregation, the parents are fully justified in turning him over to the authorities of the land, to be dealt with as they see best. The prospect of this action may suffice to bring a rebellious son in line.
That being established, why then would they not be willing to follow the same pattern with other texts, such as those having a bearing on the role of women in the congregation, or those dealing with allegations of rape or sexual abuse? It is clear that, at the time Proverbs was written, the rod was understood to mean physical punishment.
Do not hold back discipline from a boy. If you strike him with the rod, he will not die. With the rod you should strike him, in order to save him from the grave.
Obviously, a shepherd would not use his rod or staff to beat his sheep. So, that could not be the meaning of rod here, as the book Draw Close to Jehovah maintains. In Psalm 23:4 the shepherd's rod and staff are said to bring comfort and reassurance. But Jackson didn't want to commit himself on what rod in Proverbs meant to those living at the time the instruction was written, because that would have opened up the possibility of reinterpreting other scriptures, with regard to contemporary social attitudes and standards, as McClellan put it. In that way, he was able to avoid checkmate.